Good morning. This is really exciting. I'm glad to be here. Thank you, Daniel, for having me. This is a lot of fun, being the first public event of the Center for Data Innovation. So I hope this is the start of many. As many of you know, this administration has launched a series of open data initiatives to make data that is previously hard to access more available to fuel private sector innovation in areas like healthcare, energy, education, public safety, global development, and finance. And entrepreneurs and businesses are using this data to solve problems, create jobs, create new products and services. And this is really, really exciting because they are building all kinds of great things, and they're also addressing important national priorities at the same time. But I want to start by asking a question. How does this impact everyday Americans? How is this relevant to everyone? And kind of how are we reaping the benefits of the open data revolution? And so to answer that question, I actually want to start with a story. And so this is a story about two men and blueberries. So first there's Lewis. Lewis is a blueberry farmer in Columbus, Indiana, and every season he has about 5 days to plant blueberries. And those 5 days really matter. If he has a stroke of bad luck and there's bad weather, he's unable to successfully plant. Or if he plants and it's really hot, the seeds can crack and die and wipe out his chances to have a successful blueberry crop. And so like a lot of other farmers, his livelihood largely depends on the weather. Now, the other gentleman in this story is a guy named David Freeberg. And in 2006, David was driving by the Embarcadero in San Francisco, and he saw a bicycle hut. And this particular bicycle hut, it was raining, and he was wondering, how do businesses deal with the weather? And how does a bicycle hut deal with the fact that if it rains, which actually doesn't do much in California these days, but if it does rain in California, how do businesses cope with that? And so David was inspired to start a company that uses data, that uses algorithms to help American businesses cope with what they really can't control, and that's the weather. And so David's company, Climate Corporation, offers weather insurance that pays farmers quickly when they don't get enough rain. It pays out so farmers can afford to plant or replant a different crop, and allows farmers to plant higher risk and more profitable crops like blueberries that may not qualify for federal crop insurance. Climate Corp also offers apps and tools to help farmers with their particular fields so that they can make decisions for their specific crops, the weather that they actually experience, not averages or things kind of in that particular state. And so today, because of a company like Climate Corporation, Lewis can grow higher profit crops that were previously too risky to really grow his business. And Climate Corporation now employs over 200 people, both in the Midwest and on the West Coast. And this is a company that wouldn't be possible without open government data. And Climate Corporation uses data from the National Weather Service, so that's weather history data, 30 years of weather history data, forecasts, terrain maps from the U.S. Geological Survey, soil data from USDA, and Earth observation data from NASA. As many of you know, the federal government collects a vast amount of data: statistical, economic, financial, geospatial, regulatory, and scientific. But too much of it is trapped in government systems. And even when it's technically available online, it's often hard to find, understand, and reuse. And a lot of it isn't even online. For example, the National Oceanographic Atmospheric Administration, or NOAA, as we like to call it, estimates that only 10% of their data is online. Data is a valuable national asset. It should be open and available to the public wherever possible. available to entrepreneurs, to scientists, to innovators inside and outside of government, instead of being trapped inside of government systems. Taxpayers have paid for this vast trove of government data, and wherever possible, it should be available. So recognizing this, President Obama signed executive order last May to make government-held data more accessible to the public and as fuel for private sector innovation and economic growth. The executive order requires all newly generated data to be made available in open and machine-readable formats as the default, while continuing to protect privacy and security. So I used the story of David and Louis and blueberries because it illustrates three great things. First, as a federal government, we can make it easier for entrepreneurs like David. We should make it easier for him to find and use any open government data set. And we should also make it easier for him and other entrepreneurs to find out about data sets that are technically public but not yet online. How do we crack that information asymmetry problem? Two, open data is not an ends unto itself. Data doesn't do anything itself. It doesn't teach your children. It doesn't cure your family or cure cancer, as Daniel said. And data doesn't help farmers in itself. It's the application. It's only useful when you turn it into actionable recommendations, easy to use software, journalistic insights. What's truly exciting is what startups and companies and innovators and scientists and journalists, it's what they do with the data, how they apply it and how they use it in new comparison engines and news stories, in all kinds of great software and breakthrough scientific discoveries. And third, we should expect new and unanticipated uses of government data. I think Climate Corporation's a great example because they're using data from a slew of federal agencies, and they're focused on solving a particular customer problem. But any one data owner inside the agency may not be thinking about that unanticipated use of their data set. So Climate Corporation is a great example, but there's many, many others who use open federal data, oftentimes in combination with many other data sets, or local government data sets. So take, for example, Trulia, Redfin, Zillow, these companies that help consumers make real estate decisions. These companies use data from the Bureau of Labor Statistics, the Federal Housing Finance Agency, and the Census Bureau. But they also use local zoning, tax, and crime data. Another example is a company called Brightscope. So this is a startup in San Diego that's grown to be about 70 people. And they give companies and their employees transparency about 401k plans and their registered investment advisors. They use data from labor, from SEC, and census to rate 401k plans objectively on performance and fees. And as a result, companies can choose better plans, employees have better options, and that contributes to financial security as you get close to retirement. So there are literally hundreds of examples like this of companies that use open government data to create really exciting apps, products, and services. And in fact, there's a research group at NYU called GovLab, or Governance Lab, and Joel Gurin is here from GovLab, and they've put together a list of 500 companies that are powered in part by open government data. So I really encourage you to check it out. It's 500 concrete examples. And the list of these 500, I think, is really interesting because it shows the diversity of industry, the diversity of size, of geography, and even of type of product or service. It's not just apps or software, but data informs so much. So in addition to being fuel for private sector companies and innovation, open data has some other really exciting uses. So it can help promote market transparency and market competition. So for example, the Department of Health and Human Services last year put out a really exciting data set. So they put out what hospitals charge for inpatient services associated with the 100 most common types of hospital stays. And the data showed immense variations in what hospitals charge across the country and even within metro areas. So in Birmingham, Alabama, just to pick one metro area, for example, The average hospital charge for hip and knee replacement varies from $23,000 at one hospital to $141,000 at another. So the demand for this kind of information is real, and within 24 hours of the hospital charge information being made public, it was downloaded over 100,000 times and was the subject of a number of prominent news stories. Another example is the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau's complaint database. It allows the public to see what consumers complained about and why, as well as when the company in question responds. Consumer can track their own complaints, and regulators can use the database to inform their work. And what's exciting is, according to a recent Forbes article, is that the banks are starting to take notice of this and starting to compete on customer service. And that's a really kind of powerful example of how open data can drive market transparency and actually greater market competition. Making open government data can also have really important benefits for improving government services. So when the VA, for example, posts an open listing of all the regional benefits offices, anyone can build a geolocation app that shows that to their particular customers, right? And so it's about how can the federal government expand the scale and reach of some of this information and allow entrepreneurs to take that and build it into their apps and services. So while there's a ton of work still to do, I'm really excited about the progress that has been made across the federal government to implement the President's executive order. So federal agencies are making great progress, and let me just talk a little bit about this. So first, they're creating a single agency inventory. So we inventory in the federal government desk chairs and other assets. And government data is an asset, and we need to treat it as an asset. And so agencies, for the first time, are inventorying their data resources. They're non-public, they're restricted, and they're public data assets. Second, they're publishing a list of those that are public or that could be made public. And this is on their agency.gov/data pages. And third, agencies are developing new public feedback mechanisms. So these are online, they are offline, and it's helping create good feedback for where agencies should prioritize their efforts about what are the most valuable data sets for stakeholders to use. And also agencies are required to identify public points of contact for every public data set. Now, through the data.gov platform, which launched in 2009, the public can see thousands of government data sets. Just last week, the data.gov team refreshed the design. And there's a bunch of other great improvements, make it easier to find and use government data. It's mobile and tablet friendly. You see Phil Ashlock here in the audience, and you should talk to him about some of the improvements. It's really great stuff. This version of data.gov was actually built in the open, and it'll continue to be so. So it's on GitHub. If you have ideas on how to improve it, whether it's from the design perspective or architecture, feel free to provide comments. It's using open source projects, so feel free to contribute code as well. And so this approach of using open software and open design and open platforms is one that the White House wanted to take when the President signed the Open Data Executive Order. So that's why we launched Project Open Data, which is an online repository and community designed to make it easier to collaborate and improve on the open data policy with a collection of code, tools, and case studies. So anyone can contribute ideas, open source tools, improvements to the policy, or even simple grammatical edits. And cities and states and foreign governments can learn from us and borrow our design, our policies, or our code. But I think we're still just scratching the surface here with the potential to open up our data. According to a recent report by McKinsey, open data can create more than $3 trillion of annual economic value in 7 key sectors of the economy, including education, transportation, and energy. The report also found that catalyzing a variety of social benefits, open data can lead to all kinds of new products and services and consumer efficiencies, cost savings, better quality products, and so forth. The McKinsey report also looked at this notion of Americans being able to get access to their own data, their own personal data, or I like to call it my data, whether it's held by government or whether it's held by corporations. And in the Obama administration, we've been working hard to make it easier for Americans to get secure access to their own data. You deserve access to your own data safely and securely. So for example, the VA in 2010 created the Blue Button Initiative, a simple way for a veteran to access his or her own health record. Veterans could click a blue button with on an online patient portal to download a summary of their clinical records that could be shared with healthcare providers outside of the VA system. And the Blue Button Initiative has really taken off. It's evolved for the ability for patients to securely view, download, and transmit their healthcare records electronically with third-party tools and applications that they trust. And Blue Button has been adopted by other federal partners, so CMS and Medicare, for example, but it's also been adopted by the private sector. We estimate that about 150 million Americans have electronic access to their personal health information from a variety of different sources. So that's healthcare providers, insurance companies, medical labs, state health information networks. Another great example of this My Data, or getting access to your personal data, is IRS's new tool, Get Transcript, which launched earlier this month. So this is the ability for taxpayers to download 3 years of their tax records. So think about how useful this could be in mortgage applications or other services that require you to prove your income. Another example of My Data is the Green Button Initiative, and this is one where we partnered with industry because the federal government doesn't run any retail electric services. So in partnering with a number of electric utilities, they have made household and business energy usage information available securely back to those customers. And so now we have over 42 million households and business customers, which reaches about 100 million Americans, have access to their Green Button energy data from their utility portal. And so armed with that information, they can more easily shop for solar panels, use virtual energy audit software, and ultimately save on their energy bills. So what's great about all of these My Data and personal data initiatives is not only do they arm consumers with their own information, but it's also fuel for new products and services for startups and for companies that have to earn your trust. And so regardless of whether we open data publicly to the world or whether we're making data available securely back to you, I think we'll fall short if we just talk about the supply of data. We also have to think about the dialogue and the feedback loops that I alluded to earlier. And so that's why the federal government has been doing meetups and hackathons and data jams and data paloozas. We had a couple data paloozas last week in public safety and education. There's a hackathon around some new APIs from the Department of Energy this weekend, and we'll continue to do both big and small events and participate in great events like this. So I'd like to close with the President's words from last May when he signed the Open Data Executive Order. That day, after visiting an incubator and meeting with startups, the President said, "We're making even more government data available, and we're making it easier for people to find and use." And that's going to help launch more startups. It's going to help launch more businesses. It's going to help more entrepreneurs come up with products and services that we haven't imagined yet. That kind of innovation and ingenuity has the potential to transform the way we do almost everything. So the President has been candid about the challenges and opportunities in front of us as a country. He set a goal of us being #1 in the world in college graduates. He set a goal of cutting building energy waste in half in a decade and a half. And thanks to the Affordable Care Act, we're starting to move from a system that was focused on volume to one focused on value. And in all of these areas, in health, energy, education, it's clearer than ever that technology entrepreneurs and innovators are part of the solution to these important national priorities. They're the ones who are designing new tools and services for teachers, utility workers, and doctors and nurses. And they're the ones who are designing new personalized services to students, families, and households. So I can't wait to see the products and services and companies that get created by American entrepreneurs as they innovate using open government data as fuel. Open data is good for the American people and good for business. Thank you. So we have a few minutes, and I thought I would take a couple questions, if that's okay, either virtually or from folks in the room.
I'm Danny Borden. Does data want to be free, or does it just want to be open?
I wouldn't put any feeling on data. But it's a great question about the status quo of data, right? I mean, so data sits in all kinds of systems, some of which were not designed for the analysis of that data. Sometimes it was not designed for the internal sharing or the reuse inside the enterprise. And oftentimes it was not designed for the external publication or outside reuse. And so I think as we continue the open data initiatives, and each agency and department is kind of going through this themselves, is thinking about how do they manage information as a strategic asset, right? So how do they actually count and inventory the data assets that they've got in these systems, and then think about how do they want to prioritize their time, right? How do they want to focus their resources on making it more reusable and shareable inside the enterprise and externally with the public in ways that continue to protect privacy and securely, rigorously, but also give us opportunities to have all hands on deck to address some of these national challenges.
Yeah, a number of agencies didn't meet their milestones when it came to data. I was wondering what the White House is going to do with that.
Yeah, so
You could repeat the question.
Yeah, so the question was about agencies meeting the milestones of the open data initiatives, specifically about the OMB policy requiring agencies to inventory and their data assets. The agencies have made great progress, and I think it's all but one have been able to get up public data listings. And so it's really been fantastic progress. But I think the important thing here is that this is an ongoing process, right? So this isn't agencies inventorying for the first time and then leaving it. It is ongoing managing information as an asset. And so that's what's really exciting. And this isn't a compliance exercise. This is an opportunity to really manage this information and these data assets in ways that are fundamental to fueling job growth, economic growth, scientific discovery, and so forth.
Hi, I'm James Tetlow with Washington Court. I was wondering if you could talk a little about some of the workforce development initiatives that the federal government is doing to build knowledge and proficiency in things like big data and cloud computing.
Well, so the one thing I will say about kind of workforce and skills and training is that there is a tremendous opportunity for the federal government to bring its data assets to the table. And so this is something that we're going to do in collaboration, of course, with the private sector, as all of our open data initiatives are targeted to do. But we have great data assets on skills and training and on workforce development. And so making those open and machine readable, I think, will be an important asset as fuel to demand-driven training programs.
Wyatt Cash with Information Week. There's so much data still locked up in legacy systems. Has there been any thought to funding or providing resources to unlock a list, let's say, of priority assets that agencies agree would be good to get out to the public, but are still stuck in older systems?
Yeah, so agencies are prioritizing those assets, and I think that's why starting with an inventory and getting external and internal feedback about which assets are the most important. That's really the most important piece here is getting a roadmap for how to further unlock those data assets with the resources that they've got. And so there are resources inside the federal government to continue to modernize information systems. And so as they're modernizing information systems and as they're kind of building new products and services or so forth, those are the kinds of resources that are available to agencies. I'll take one more question.
Yeah, my name's Tommy Highwire, I work with Montgomery County. I was wondering, how is the federal government, if they are working with state and local governments on their open data initiatives, are they working on parallel track or are they collaborating?
Yeah, so we love to collaborate with both state and local partners. We learn a lot from state and local partners on their open data initiatives, and there's some really great examples of local innovation. So there's a small company in Boston, for example, that uses the accelerometer on cell phones to report potholes. And so right now they're just trying this with the city workers. So the city workers basically turn on the app, and as they drive around, when the truck or utility worker or whoever hits a pothole, it automatically reports that back to the city. And so it's a great example of open data innovation at the local level. We're eager to continue to work with state and local partners. Data.gov, for example, has a very federated model, and so not only does it show federal data, but it also shows local data. Talk with Phil Ashlock, who's here, about that as well. So we're looking forward to continuing to collaborate with and learn from local partners. Thank you, everyone.